Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Brought to you by New Stopette, America's leading spray deodorant. The lotion spray deodorant that's like balm to your skin. Poof! There goes perspiration. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, our publisher panelist, Bennett, Cerf.
And on my immediate right, back from the rolling hills and rolling dice of Las Vegas, our own Arlene Francis.
Thank you, Bennett. And on my right, at my right, to my right, pinch hitting for the absentee charm of Fred Allen is a gentleman who has a very fine show in his own name and one of the best little old pinch hitters in the business, Robert Q. Lewis.
Hey, darling. To my right, not on my right because it's too hot tonight, sits the voice of Broadway, a young lady who today celebrates a very happy birthday. So, Dorothy, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Now you've flustered me, and I hardly know how to begin the introduction of a gentleman who had better behave himself tonight, because not only are his own sons in the audience, but John Wayne's daughter and Bob Hope's children are watching you, John Daly.
You're absolutely right, Dorothy. I feel a bit like Bob Hope playing Eddie Foy tonight, except he had 7 little Foys, and I've only got 5 to be critical of me tonight. But nobody can be critical of Bob's work in the picture, which it's a great picture. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and sons, and please be easy with Father. Good evening, and welcome to What's My Line. It's nice to have you all here with us tonight, and we're going to get up to our old tricks in spite of the summer heat, of which there is somewhat more than the customary amount tonight. We'll have some interesting occupations and some nice people and a guest challenger a bit later on, but I think these experts better get to a challenger right away quick. So will you sign in, please, sir? Kurt King, is that right, sir? Well, Mr. King, I want to congratulate you. This is a new write-in board, and you're the first person to write on it. And you can tell your grandchildren that you were, too. And where are you from, sir?
Elkhart, Indiana.
Oh, that's nice country. I've been out there very recently.
I like
very
it.
Nice people. Well, I'm glad you do, and it's nice to have somebody from that community come and visit us. I think you ought to have a chance to see the panel a little closer on, and they need to see you a bit closer on. So would you take a hike down there, please?
Well, Mr. King.
Hello, Mr. King.
Mr. King?
All right, Mr. King, over here, if you will, and sit down next to me. And I wonder if you know how we score this operation, do you?
I believe so.
You do think you know how? All you got to do is say no, loud, clear, and correctly, and flip. We flip. All right? Good. All right, let's let the folks at home and those who are here in the theater with us know exactly what your line is. All right. And now, Mr. King, I will tell the panel that you're self-employed, and let's begin all of the formal ceremonies with Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Well, Mr. King, you're from Indiana, so I presume you're a crack basketball player. But this, I also presume, has nothing to do with your occupation. Is that correct?
That was merely an observation, Mr.
That was
King.
an
You don't have
observation,
to
not
make
a question.
That's right. You don't have to make a reply to
Is there a product involved in what you do, Mr. King?
Yes.
that. Small conversation, please.
Right at the beginning? No.
Yeah, Bennett, I'm
Well, you
sorry
got
to have
both
to do that. I
answers.
think we've got to say, in our context, there is no product involved. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Then you deal in services, Mr. King.
Pardon?
You deal in services?
Yes, ma'am.
Do your services make people happier?
Yes, ma'am.
Can both men and women participate in whatever it is you do?
They participate to the degree that this is a service which is meant to have wide distribution among the populace. Both men and women can participate in the service to the degree that they can share in its implementation.
Well, he render his services to both sexes, is what I meant.
I think you might accurately say that in the performance of his service, it's his intent to render them to both sexes.
Do you deal with human beings, Mr. King?
How was that?
Do you deal with human beings more than
Yes, ma'am.
animals? Do these people come in contact with you directly? Rather than
Sometimes.
over the telephone?
Yes, I would say that there is a time when they could and often do come into direct contact with him.
Do you work indoors ever?
No.
That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Then, could it be safe to assume
Careful.
that you work out of doors?
Yes.
Very good, Mr. Lewis.
First, the only yes I'll get tonight. Mr. King, do people come to you?
Yes.
When you render the service you render, do you ever come in physical contact with them? In other words, do you ever actually touch them?
Well, the
Some-
question was asked, Bob, and if I may intrude here, and the answer to that is that there is a time in his functioning when he can and often does come into physical contact with the people who come to
All right, let me, you work exclusively in the outdoors, and you are self-employed. Would it ever, could it possibly be that in this work that you do, you are part of the entertainment world?
Yes.
Do you travel from place to place?
Yes.
Do you perhaps appear at carnivals or fairs or something of that kind?
Yes.
Does your work require any special training?
No.
No,
No,
special
not in
training.
the context of special training as we apply it, no. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Are your hands important in your job, Mr. King?
Very.
He's a handyman.
Mr. King makes a very good point here that there is a time during which he is performing
That he has to
when
use-
the hands are very necessary to him.
When he has to hold on to something. Is that it?
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Something rather than somebody.
Yes.
Yes. Is there something hazardous about what you do?
Very.
There is? Do you work on a high wire of any kind?
No.
No, not a high wire. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, Mr. King, if does this hazardous occupation sometimes take you off the ground in any way?
Yes.
Up into the wild boo yonder?
It could be so described,
Could be,
yes.
yes.
The term is used very loosely, I understand.
Do you do any kind of a leap or a jump out of a moving plane or a
No.
helicopter or anything like that?
Nope, that's 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, do you leap around at all?
Does
Do you
he
move-
leap?
Do you move around off the ground?
Yes.
Is there any...
Wait a minute. I would say this. If your question has to do with the concept, does he, to get off the ground, have to move around? Axiomatically, the answer would be yes, which is why you got
I'll
the
take
yes.
any kind of a yes, axiomatic or not.
Well, you got the axiomatic type.
That's the best kind, Dorothy.
Once you are up in the air, are you without any, at any point, are you without any harness or parachute or device of any kind that keeps you attached to something?
No safety.
No safety. That's
We're
what
all
I
up in
mean.
the air with him.
Oh.
That's a yes, John. It really is.
Why do I get into these things? All right, I'll give you the yes, but if you are misled by the yes, then it's not my fault, right?
It's never your fault, John. Are people looking up at you when you're doing what you're doing?
Yes.
Do you start on the ground?
Yes.
Do you do something other than...
We all?
Do you do something other than climbing a flight of stairs to get to whatever you do?
Yes.
You said that your work is very hazardous. Does it involve being propelled by some apparatus?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, and we'll give you 1 more minute. Mr.
You're
Lewis.
not propelled, and yet you say there is no special training needed. Could I do what you do,
No,
sir?
you see, we have a context of training on here that requires actually a very fine and
I
precise
see.
skill or academic training.
Well, then, in some instance, could I possibly do what it is you do?
I think that you could with a...
Well, I want you to know that Fred will be back, and I'm available. Are you, in your work, attached, or do you, in some way, hold on to something, either for support or to keep you where you are? You do not...
Can we have a conference?
I give you 10 seconds for a conference.
Does he, maybe he puts up the tents or something?
No, I think he's
I was thinking of like going
Hazardous,
over
putting
a
up a tent, isn't it?
barrel.
Isn't it?
No,
Going
they
those
look
ropes?
down at him.
Who's
no,
next?
I'm
He's
wrong.
not shot out of a cannon, that's
No,
for sure.
because then he'd be propelled by an apparatus.
Maybe he sits
And he doesn't go over a barrel
Well, it's a
because then people will be
plane.
looking down.
Are
at him.
you... Oh, you're still on.
Am I on? I gotta try one more. Are
You're
you a
still-
flagpole sitter? Do you climb...
I must say, Robert, you don't know how lucky you are. I was just reaching to flip all the rest of the cards because I thought from the conference you'd had nobody was anywhere near it.
Poor Bob
Flagpole
wanted to say
sitter
that
is
all
right.
the time when we were stopping.
Good King. Thank you, Mr. King. It was a lot of fun having you with us, sir. Hope you enjoyed your visit to What's My Life. Thank you. All right, panel, a very good beginning. Now let's see what we can do with a second challenger. So would you sign in, please, ma'am? Judith Sherwin. Is that right, ma'am? And where are you from?
Ferndale, Michigan.
Ferndale, Michigan?
That's right.
Is it Miss or Mrs.?
Miss.
Miss?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll have a little more trouble then, I'm afraid. All right, now, would you be good enough to let the panel know you a little better? Take a walk
How
over
far
there.
from Detroit is Ferndale?
About 12 miles.
12 miles.
How far from Ann Arbor is Ferndale?
About an hour's drive.
That's all, gentlemen. There'll be no telephone numbers. All right, Miss Sherwin, you come right over here and sit down next to me where you will be safe. And you know how we score this operation?
That's right.
Well, that's fine. If you know how to score it, let's let the folks who are at home and our friends here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Miss Sherwin is salaried. And with that, let's begin the general questioning with, well, you've made such a good record. Let's begin with you, Robert Q.
Well, here's where it all goes to pot. Miss Sherwin, is there a product connected with what you do?
Yes.
This product that might be found in the home?
Yes.
That is the next, I think, step question. Is it a product that might come in contact with the body?
Yes.
Might this product be found in the kitchen or dining room?
Yes.
If you were, might an owner of this product or group of products be awfully proud and display them prominently? I was going to say at a dinner party, but I don't know.
Yes, I would say that the owner of this product would display them publicly, yes.
And does this
Or it.
product ever come in direct contact with food?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I'm on the wrong track. It is obviously not something that after a dinner party is over, you stack in the sink and have to wash. And,
Yes, it is not something that you stack in a sink and wash.
Oh, well then,
You're still on?
Oh, I'm still on. Well then, is it something that then might not necessarily be found in the kitchen or in the dining room?
It might not necessarily be found there.
In other words, could it be found in other parts of the house?
Oh, I'd
Yes.
think so, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Is this a product to be used by both men and women?
Yep.
Yes.
No one sex in particular.
No, both sex issues. Is that?
Might it be
Right.
found outside the home?
Yes.
It is a manufactured item.
Yes.
Could I own one of these things?
Yes.
Yep.
I take it I would not be happy in owning one of these things.
Oh.
Oh, I would think if he liked them, or, if you had an interest in this sort of thing, you'd be very pleased.
Well,
yeah?
I pass to Arlene, whom I trust from the reaction does not own one of these things. Go on.
I have a terrible feeling I do own one. Everybody must know. Everybody knows I have one. If I had one, would it be showing right now if I had one?
Yep.
And it can come in contact with food. Is it anything in my mouth? Would it be in my mouth if I had it, rather than in a glass of water?
I think yes.
Does this have something to do with false teeth, Miss Sherwin?
Yes.
Are you in the false tooth business?
Yes, I think you've identified the product. You've identified the product, but we have now to define exactly what relationship Miss Sherwin has to false teeth.
Well, I don't know. Does she make caps or something like that?
Make caps.
She
That
doesn't
makes
do
it
that.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
And I have some. And I'm proud of them, and I hope they're yours.
Well, Miss Sherwin, are you a dentist yourself?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
You make something connected with teeth, or you have something to do with made artificial teeth. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, do you make them yourself?
Make them. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Well, I do hope you don't model them.
No.
No?
We call that a no. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you make impressions of them?
Make impressions with them
If they
or
fit.
of them? That, of them? 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Do you sell or advertise?
That's right. Sell them. Thank you very much, Miss Sherman, for a very interesting occupation. Hope you have fun. Well, we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just... Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my friends are blindfolded. And the blindfolds are all in place, panel?
Yes, sirree.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, as you know, panel, in the case of our mystery challenger, we get right down to the general questioning and a new set of rules. You ask questions in turn, one at a time, moving clockwise, and we will begin the questions with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in show business?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in motion pictures?
Yes, sir.
Would you be considered a leading man? You must be from the applause.
I would answer yes, definitely. Mr. Cerf?
Are you about to open in a new picture?
No, sir.
Small conference.
No, he's going to be a picture.
He had time to make a new
No,
picture.
we're actually, we have a technical problem here. Not to mislead you, Bennett, I would say that for the layman's terms, we might describe our guest as about to open in a new picture, but it would be in layman's terms and not the technical terms of the industry. Miss Kilgallen?
Would you explain that for me? Because I don't know whether I'm a layman or not.
Yeah, well, there you are. I can't do that. George Gobel wouldn't. No. Let me see. There is a technical term for the industry which would tend to prescribe the amount of time between the question and the opening of the picture. In lay terms, because of what you might read in the paper or hear on the air or see on television, you'd say, well, yeah, he's about to open in a new picture. You see?
You mean it's open somewhere but not New York? Is that
No,
what you
I don't mean that at all. I just mean that a layman, just on the basis of publicity, would conclude that the picture is about to open and not know the specific date, perhaps.
Could you explain it in terms of... Could you tell an old pro what you mean, John?
Are you in a picture that is now running in New York at any theater?
No.
I don't think so. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Lewis.
I take it you're a handsome motion picture star, currently employed. Do you need a replacement?
After tonight.
Do you have a regular television series?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you a comedian?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, you're so courteous and unshow-me-like. Have you got some other claim to distinction beside being in the movies? You do something else?
That he has a clear claim to distinction beyond his participation in the movies, yes. Miss Kilgallen?
Well, are you in the field of sports as well?
No, ma'am.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Lewis.
You have another claim to fame. Did you do something that attracted the nation's attention in that you were featured in newspaper stories at one point?
Yes, that's right.
Well, if you are a motion picture actor who was featured in newspaper stories, would it have been as a result of your performances in World War II?
Yes, that would be true, Miss Arlene.
Well.
Mr. Cerf?
Are you Audie Murphy?
Audie Murphy, right. Yeah, it was kind of tough. I want to explain why we had trouble with the picture.
Why don't you explain it to me now? I'm confused.
Now, Audie said there is a special showing of his picture, the picture actually made of Audie's life, called The Hell and Back, and it's going to be on Governor's Island next week, but the picture actually doesn't go into the theaters until October, so I was stuck. You could read in the papers that it was opening, but I couldn't be sure. Needless to say, a great note of distinction rides with this man for the rest of his life. He holds the Congressional Medal of Honor, and we're all proud to have you with us, Pappy. Good to see you.
A lot of fun.
Real good to see you. Can you say good night for us, Pappy?
You're going to be on my show Thursday night, aren't you, Soldier Parade?
All right, we have very little time, but let's see if we can't test the panel very briefly, and I give the panel warning. This is going to be very brief. Would you sign in, please, ma'am? Now, panel, you're going to have about 2 minutes to do this. Edith Wu, is that right? Where are you from? From Chicago? Come on over here and sit down with me, if you will. We'll dispense the walkthrough. I would just ask you if you know how we score this operation, do you?
Yes, I do.
All right. If you know how to score it, let's let the folks at home and those who are here in the theater know what your line is. Then we'll put the panel to work. All right. Now, Miss Wu, we will announce your salaried. And let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Miss Wu, are you associated in any way with the Chinese newspapers?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Resisting the opportunity to say anything about pitching Wu, Miss Wu.
Oh, Mr. Cerf, congratulations.
You resisted it beautifully,
Thank
Bennett.
you. Does the fact that you are of Chinese ancestry have something to do with the occupation you find yourself in now?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work indoors?
Yes.
Is your work intellectual rather than physical?
Yes.
Do you use any implements in your work, whether pencils, typewriters, chalk, anything like
Yes.
that? Is there anything instructive about what you do?
I
No.
wouldn't think so, not in the ordinary run of things. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Miss Wu, I don't think we've established whether you work for a profit-making organization.
Yes.
You do. And then do you render a service for those people?
Yes.
You work indoors. Might any one of the panel avail themselves of your services?
Yes.
Well, Dorothy, Arlene, I pass to you. I'm
All right, Miss Arlene.
Do you, by any chance, paint or draw?
No, ma'am.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr.
Have
Cerf.
you got anything to do with books in any way, Miss Wu?
No, not the kind of books a publisher would be speaking of, and we've just run out of time. I want you to meet Miss Edith Wu, stockbroker with Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, Bean, Fragenheimer,
I get everybody.
And, Miss Wu, you get the full prize because we ran out of time, and our thanks for being our guest. It was
Thank
very
you.
nice to have you on What's My Line. Good night,
Thank
then. Good to see you. We'll be back in... And a word to Bob Lewis, who was worried about getting only one yes answer. Getting very good, Robert, indeed, and very much we are indebted to you for being with us tonight. Hope that Fred gets well real soon. And until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Dorothy.
And, Fred, if you're watching, we can't wait for all the appendix jokes. Good night. Good night, Bob.
Good night, Dorothy. Fred, do get well quick. Come on back. It's hot up here. Good night, Arlene.
Good night. Nice to have had you, Bob. Take care, Fred. Good night, Bennett.
Good night. I'm going to make my broker wear a costume like Miss Wu. Good night, John.
Good night, Bennett. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line?
Transportation for What's My Line is arranged through American Airlines, America's leading airline, serving 77 major cities throughout the United States, Canada, and Mexico. This has been a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production in association with the CBS Television Network.